Welcome back to another episode of the Inquisitive Mamba podcast. This is episode 180. I hope everyone is having a great day, great night, wherever you are around the world. A lot to get into on today's show, but before we officially start, make sure to follow us on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. I can't thank you guys enough for the support on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. The clips have done exceptional on social media. So thank you guys for that. But introduction on today's show, what we'll start with is, of course, USA losing to Venezuela last night in the World Baseball Classic 3-2. Super disappointed about that. I mean, USA choked. We dropped a clip earlier this morning up talking about the game. So disappointed in USA. They only have themselves to blame. March Madness starting tomorrow officially. The round of 64 kicks off. You have the first four yesterday, and the first game of the first four yesterday, and then the second game followed up to excuse me. There's 4 games in total. My apologies. So you have those games there from yesterday and today. And then tomorrow, the tournament officially starts. Your 1 seeds are Duke, Arizona, Florida, and Michigan. We'll get all into that. A little bit of the NFL today. We'll talk about that, some free agency stuff, some signings from the Patriots, the Chiefs, the Vikings signing Kyler Murray. We're going to get all into it. And then no NBA today on the show because there's really not much to cover. I know the whole expansion stuff's a potential conversation there, but we're going to dive into that later, late on the later episode, which most likely will be next week, of course. And then you get opening week for opening day for the MLB next week. So let's get into it. The first thing we're going to start off with, of course, last night is the World Baseball Classic, USA losing to Venezuela 3-2. Before I rip on the USA, before I rip on manager Mark DeRosa and the MLB for not allowing players to pitch in the championship, I want to give Venezuela credit, give credit where credit is due. They deserve to win that game 100%. Eduardo Rodriguez was exceptional in that game. Michael Garcia winning the World Baseball Classic MVP, Acuna leaving his mark, Salvador Perez most likely is going to be that this was his last World Baseball Classic. So Venezuela winning their first tournament World Baseball Classic history. So good for them. They deserve to win that game. The USA has only themselves to blame. But for the most part, USA was lifeless during that entire game against Venezuela. You're supposed to be the super team. You're supposed to be the juggernaut. You beat DR. You barely beat DR. I know we said they were exposed. DR lost the game, fine, whatever, however you want to slice it. But you go and you play Venezuela, you have a day rest, and you score 2 runs on 3 hits. If it wasn't for Bryce Harper, you would have been shut out. It blows my mind that USA has that talented and that stacked of a team, and they go out and they put that performance out there. Yeah, Venezuela had a great game, but you can't tell me that the USA you would have told me the USA would have scored 2 runs in the World Baseball Classic Championship. I would have been like, huh? You have a day rest? Venezuela's coming off of a big game against Italy. They came back and beat Italy. USA came off a big game against the Dominican Republic. Game could have gone either way. We're not going to sit here and debate for the next 100 years about the Mason Miller Perdomo ball strike controversial call. There should have been there should be ABS in the World Baseball Classic. We're not going to talk about that. But sticking here on the USA Venezuela game, Aaron Judge is the captain of this team, and he goes 0 for 4. You're the MVP in the AL. You're arguably the best player in the MLB aside from Ohtani. As a pure player, of course, Ohtani's the unicorn. You're the best player in the MLB, and you're the captain, and you go 0 for 4? Listen, I understand, Judge, you were great in the Dominican Republic game. You got robbed of a home run. You took away Tatis's you gunned out Tatis at third. You robbed Soto of a base hit there, but the World Baseball Classic did resume. Championship did have happened last night, and that's what you put up as a performance. And another thing too, Mark DeRosa. I don't know why he was hired to be the World Baseball Classic manager again. I don't know if other managers in the MLB didn't want to participate. I'm not sure. I'm just putting my 2 cents out there, but he's an MLB analyst. I understand he played in the MLB for 16 seasons. I totally understand that. And he was the manager for the last World Baseball Classic, but you can't sit here and tell me that you want to play with analytics and you want to play with metrics over who should be out there and who is the best. You had Gunnar Henderson that you benched for Alex Bregman. You benched PCA, Pete Crow Armstrong, for Byron Buxton. Oh, righty, lefty matchup, lefty, righty. Listen, you send out the best players in a World Baseball Classic. And another thing, too, I was so frustrated to find out that the MLB was not allowing certain pitchers to pitch in the last game. What's the point of playing in the tournament if certain players can't play or there's a certain pitch count? Listen, I understand there's a whole thing about this, but if the tournament isn't to be taken serious, why even play in it in the first place? Clearly the players didn't take it that serious because obviously you had Tarek Skubal who removed himself from the tournament. There was plenty of other USA players that could have played in this tournament, but they decided not to. I understand in their mind they think it's an exhibition, but this determines who's the best baseball team in the world, right? The World Baseball Classic. And this is another thing too. If you want to treat the four nations in the World Baseball Classic as the same and the Olympics are different, that's perfectly fine. But don't complain when you lose to Venezuela, right? That's really what I have to say on that point there. Super frustrating loss for USA. They should have won that game. Venezuela played a great game, and the USA skimped by, I feel like, because you lost to Italy in pool play. You were, who knew if the whole Italy Mexico thing, which you needed Italy to win, which they did. So you were very lucky that you weren't eliminated in pool play. So this was long overdue for USA. They didn't deserve to win the game. You went flat against the DR. Your pitching bailed you out. Your God Squad All-Star lineup did absolutely nothing against DR other than 2 solo home runs. And you didn't do anything against Venezuela. And luckily, thank God for Bryce Harper. But listen, guys, hats off to Venezuela on a great tournament. Their first World Baseball Classic won in history. And really, that's all I have to say. Let's see. Maybe USA will show up the next time around. Maybe next time they'll take it more serious than they did for this tournament here. Maybe next time the World Baseball Classic USA team will not hire Mark DeRosa as their manager and say, hey, maybe we need a real manager. But hey, I rest my case on that. The next thing I wanted to move on to is briefly, we'll talk about March Madness. Obviously, we can sit here and break it down all day. We don't have time for that. The 1 seeds are Arizona, Michigan, Florida, and Duke. I think probably one of those 4 teams is probably going to win it. I know we had this conversation last year about the whole Cinderella run, and our Cinderella run's still going to happen now with NIL. I mean, we'll talk about, the East, the breakdown here I have of all the games. I have for the bracket, I have Duke over TCU. I have St. John's over I have St. John's, Kansas, South Florida, Michigan State here. So I want to pull up the actual bracket for you guys. I'll give you guys my bracket breakdown. I have Duke over Siena. I have Duke over TCU. I have TCU over Ohio State. I have St. John's over Northern Iowa. I have Kansas over Cal Baptist. I have Louisville over USF. I know a lot of people are picking USF, but I like Louisville and what they've been able to do this year. The ACC has been great. You have Michigan State over North Dakota. I've got UCLA over USF. I have UConn over Furman. I have Florida over the winner of tonight's game. Clemson over Iowa. I know the Big Ten has been great, but I like the way Clemson played in the ACC tournament. I have Vanderbilt over McNeese. I like the way Vandy's played. They just went to the SEC championship and they beat my Florida Gators. And then I have Nebraska over Troy. I have North Carolina over VCU. I think they can get it done even without Caleb Wilson. I don't have a whole lot of stock and a whole lot of faith into VCU. Then I have Illinois over Penn. I know maybe some people are picking an upset there. I've got Illinois over Penn. I love the Big Ten, obviously. And then I have St. Mary's over A&M. As an SEC guy, I don't trust A&M. St. Mary's is always good when it comes to the March Madness tournament. Anything can happen, guys. These are just my predictions. Houston over Idaho. And then we move into the round of 32. I have Duke over TCU. I don't think TCU has the firepower to keep up with Duke. And then we have St. John's matching up with Kansas. Now this is going to be a big game. Rick Pitino, Bill Self, a lot of stock into Darren Peterson. St. John's is maybe should have not been a 5 seed. Maybe they were robbed. That's a whole nother conversation. But I'm going with St. John's over Kansas. I think the Darren Peterson end comes to a run. I think he's really checked out. I love Bill Self. He's a great coach, but I think St. John's and Rick Pitino get it done. Then you move on to Louisville and Michigan State. This is a dogfight type of game, but there's one guy you don't want to bet against in March Madness or March in general is Tom Izzo. He's been exceptional his entire time there. Then you move on to UCLA and UConn, Mick Cronin and Danny Hurley. UConn could easily win this tournament. They could easily win it all. Then you move on there. You go UConn and Michigan State, and then UConn and Michigan State. And then I picked UConn there. And then we go back up top and we have Duke and St. John's. I know a lot of people are picking St. John's, but I got to roll with Duke. I think there's too much firepower on that team. I love Rick Pitino, John Shire, and Duke got to the Final Four last year. Cam Boozer wills this team past St. John's. I think it'll be a good game, but I got Duke winning that game. Then we got to move to the other side of the bracket in the West. Well, you got Arizona and Long Island. I got Arizona. Villanova, Utah State. I got Villanova. Wisconsin and High Point. I got Wisconsin. Arkansas, Hawaii. I got Arkansas. I love Darius Acuff Jr. Could arguably be the best player in college basketball this year, if you want to debate that. Then you have BYU and Texas. I love DeBansa and Richie Saunders. I think they get that done. Gonzaga and Kennesaw State. Mark Few's a great coach. I can't bet against Mark Few. That's a lot of these things comes down to coaching in this tournament. I know Cinderellas and who's hot and who's not, but hard to bet against good coaching. Then you go to Miami and Missouri. Missouri beat Florida earlier this year. They've been good in the SEC, but I like Miami to go on maybe a short little run in this tournament. They've proved a lot of people wrong this year. And then you move on to Purdue and Queens. Purdue just won the Big Ten championship there with Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer. Matt Painter's a pretty darn good coach. I think they easily cruise past that one there. Well, and you got Michigan and Howard. I got Michigan over Howard. Georgia, St. Louis. I don't like Mike White, but the SEC has been good this year. I guess it could be an upset, but I'm going with Georgia there. You got Texas Tech and Akron. Obviously, I know Texas Tech lost their best player. I forget his name. Oh my gosh. It's is it Jacob Toppin? Pretty sure they lost Toppin. He tore his ACL. I don't have enough faith in the Zips. I got Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech can get it done. I don't think they're going to go very far, but I think they get past the first round. Then you go Alabama Hofstra. Obviously, I know Alabama is player Aiden Holloway is dealing with some stuff off the court. I still think Alabama and Nate Oates can get this done. Then you go to Tennessee versus the winner of Miami, Ohio, and SMU. I think Tennessee wins this game. Not a big fan of Rick Barnes, but I think they get this done for the first round. Then you got Virginia and Wright State. I love the way Virginia just played in the ACC tournament, so I'm going with Virginia there. And you got Kentucky and Santa Clara. Obviously, Mark Pope and Kentucky could be a sleeper in this tournament. They've got a lot of firepower. They play really well together as a team. They weren't able to beat Florida this year, but that's not saying much. Florida's arguably the best team in the country. Then you got Iowa State and Tennessee State. I got Iowa State. Then you move on to the next round. I got Iowa State over Kentucky. And then I got Virginia, Tennessee. I got Virginia over Tennessee. Then Bama over Texas Tech. And then Michigan, Georgia. I think Michigan cruises in there. They move on to the next round. Then you got Miami, Purdue. I got Purdue winning that. I think that Purdue gets that one done. And then you got BYU, Gonzaga. I got BYU upsetting Gonzaga. I know people may think that's crazy, but I like AJ DeBansa. I know maybe experience comes into play. Could very well see Gonzaga winning this game. I wouldn't shock me one bit. Then you got Arkansas, Wisconsin. That'll be a great game there. I've got Arkansas over Wisconsin. Calipari, I think they can make a nice little run. Arizona, Villanova, I got Arizona. Then you get Arizona, Arkansas. I've got Arizona over Arkansas. Arizona over Purdue because Purdue beats BYU. And then you go down to Michigan, Alabama. I've got Michigan over Alabama. Dusty May is a great coach. Michigan, of course, they're a one seed for a reason. I know they lost the Big Ten championship, but that's another conversation. Michigan over Iowa State after Iowa State beats Virginia. And then you move on to the Sweet 16. We covered that. Elite 8, you got I got Michigan over Iowa State, and then I got Michigan going to the Final Four. And then we go back to the other side of the bracket. We got Florida over Clemson in the Sweet 16. We already said UConn over UCLA. Then Vanderbilt over Nebraska. Then Florida over Vandy. And then Florida matches up against Houston. That's going to be a battle there. I'm not betting against the Gators, but they're going to be having a tough road to go into Houston to play them. And then you go to Duke, UConn. Oh my gosh, John Shire and Danny Hurley. Can we just get this game already? Obviously, these are just my predictions, but man, I hope that we get this. But Duke over UConn. And then my Final Four is all 4-1 seeds. I know people, but that's no much fun. That's not much fun. I just think these two 4-1 seeds are too good. I really do. I think either one of these four teams can win the tournament. I strongly think that. I really do. I can break it all down as we go on and continue through the tournament. Once we get past this weekend, we'll know more. But these are just my predictions. I got Duke, Florida, and the Arizona, Michigan. I got Arizona over Michigan in the Final Four. I got Duke, Florida over Duke. I think Florida gets their revenge on Duke from earlier this season when they were starting to play together and get to know each other more than anything. And I got Florida, Arizona. Arizona beat Florida in the opening night of college basketball. And I think Florida gets their revenge. And I think Florida goes back to back for the first time since the 06-07 year. All right, guys, that will wrap up the March Madness segment of the show. I think I did pretty good. If I missed any there, if I made any mistakes, please let me know. But that was the bulk of the show for that part there. Super excited to watch these games this weekend. I'm like forcing myself to get back into March Madness. I'm like, holy crap, it's already here. I can't believe it. We just finished World Baseball Classic. We just had the Olympics a couple weeks ago, free agency. It's like just when you think sports are dying down, they're just picking up. NBA playoffs are coming up. NHL playoffs are coming up. So we're moving on to the NFL. Well, of course, yesterday you had Jalen Waddle traded to the Denver Broncos, which was an interesting trade, and I think this will drive up the price for A.J. Brown even more than anything. We'll get into that as well. But sticking here on the Jalen Waddle trade to the Denver Broncos. Well, the official trade is Jalen Waddle. Denver receives Waddle, 2026 fourth. Waddle and a fourth. Miami receives a first, a third, and a fourth. So how do I feel about the trade? Listen, I recorded a clip yesterday saying the Dolphins are going to be the worst team in the NFL. I strongly believe that. I'm sticking by that. But I think Miami worked out. I think the trade worked out well for them, if you ask me, because the Dolphins need to go into rebuild mode. And I think that they can finally accept this. You don't need to have Jalen Waddle on the roster, but then this also makes me question, why would you go sign Malik Willis if you're just going to go trade Jalen Waddle a week later? But hey, for the Denver Broncos, they wanted a receiver. They didn't really do anything at this NFL free agency. With the free agency, the only move they really made was this trade for Jalen Waddle. Obviously, they re-signed Alex Singleton. They cut Dre Greenlaw. They were linked to A.J. Brown, Mike Evans, but that didn't pan out. And I think the A.J. Brown asking price was too high. And I think that A.J. Brown's too much of a diva and Waddle's more of a less of an alpha guy. You already have the alpha in Cortland Sutton as your wide receiver one. So the Waddle pickup for the Broncos is huge. And the Broncos are going to be scary again. But if you ask me, I really think that the Dolphins won this trade. It makes total sense for them. You go into rebuild mode. There's no reason why you keep Waddle on this roster. You're paying him a bunch of money as it is. Go ship him to a team that could use him and go get yourself draft picks. Now you have the 11th pick and you have the 30th pick in the draft. So my opinion, I think the Dolphins won this trade. And I also think that the Dolphins are still going to be they're going to be probably 1, 2, or 3 picking in the draft next year. It's not a bad thing. They need to officially hit the reset button. They're taking on, they have $175 million in dead cap they're taking on next year, from Chubb to Hill to Tua, Waddle. So like there's a lot of question marks with the Dolphins. And now I'm still mind boggled why that they paid and signed Malik Willis. Maybe they think he's just the bridge guy and you go and you get a number 1 quarterback next year's draft, but who knows, because you're never guaranteed that. So I do like the trade for the Broncos as well. But it came out yesterday that the Dolphins won't be trading Devon Achane, which I guess that they think that they got to have something left on the roster for Malik Willis or for the Dolphins fans to be like somewhat excited about, right? And I don't know. I'm like torn in between, because like if you're going into full rebuild mode, why don't you just sell the farm and get rid of everybody? But then the question comes back into my mind, why the hell would you sign Malik Willis? So I don't know. It's kind of like a if factor back and forth of how I feel about it. But the next thing I wanted to talk about was this A.J. Brown's situation. And of course, now Hollywood Brown has signed with the Philadelphia Eagles. It's a 1-year, $6.5 million deal, up to $10 million. But this question does arise again. If you're signing Hollywood Brown and you just brought back Dallas Goedert for $7 million a year, if I'm not mistaken, A.J. Brown's probably on his way out. But I think this is a good pickup for the Eagles. It's an insurance option if you do lose A.J. Brown. Hollywood Brown he's been on a couple teams, right? I still think he can be, a solid option for a team. A problem with him is hasn't been able to stay healthy, but he's a high flyer type of guy. He's still young. He's not really anywhere near the end of his career, but I think this is a good pickup for the Eagles. Devontae Smith. If you do keep A.J. Brown, then you have Hollywood Brown, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Maybe you draft somebody in the draft, but listen, I mean, if you're asking me more than anything, if you're signing Dallas Goedert back for a 1-year deal and you're bringing on Hollywood Brown for a 1-year deal, the AJ Brown trade is inevitable. It's only a matter of time. He was linked to the Rams. He was linked to the Broncos. And what I was telling you guys earlier on the show, I think Jalen Waddle being traded to the Denver Broncos only brings up the AJ Brown value even more. I think now that the fact that Jalen Waddle was traded to the Broncos, his price only goes up more. The Eagles are going to be greedy. They know they can do it. The Patriots are really the only suitor left, if you're asking me. It's either the Patriots that AJ Brown is traded to, or he's not. And just to clarify for some people, because they've been commenting on social media on my page about it is blasphemy that you're thinking AJ Brown will get traded to the New England Patriots. I don't think you understand that post June 1st, the Eagles cap hit that for AJ Brown is less than half the price that it is now. It's a massive cap hit. You can look up the cap hit. I'll put it on screen because I don't remember the exact cap hit. But I'll tell you this right now, post June 1st, AJ Brown becomes 100% available. The Eagles said they don't want to trade him right now, and I don't blame them. They're going to be taking on a massive cap hit before June 1st if they do trade him. He may become available on draft day. There's other teams that could arise. Obviously, the Broncos were a suitor for him. The Rams with the whole Devontae Adams thing there, which was weird. If they would have done a flip-flop there, I would have been like, huh? What? Anyways, the Patriots are the real suitor for AJ Brown. It's very obvious. He wants to play there. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse at this point. So that's how I feel about that. But listen, Howie Roseman has leverage right now. If the Patriots aren't going to do it right now and the Eagles aren't going to deal him right now, so if he becomes available again in the summertime, then they can revisit this conversation. We'll see. But hey, that's where we'll leave it right there for now. But we talked about the Dolphins with their who they're paying: Tua, Tyreek, Waddle, Ramsey, another name, Bradley Chubb. And we'll move on to Kyler Murray signing with the Minnesota Vikings. Well, it's a 1-year veteran minimum deal. And if you would have told me Kyler Murray would have been signing on a veteran minimum deal in his career, at this stage of his career, I would have said, what? He was a Cardinal for life. The Cardinals didn't overpay him. He should have played baseball. No, but in all honesty, though, I think this is a good pickup by the Vikings. I don't know if Kyler Murray is going to start, but I love it because if you don't have faith in J.J. McCarthy, then you sign Kyler Murray. But there's going to be a quarterback competition. Kyler Murray isn't just going to walk into Minnesota with Kevin O'Connell and earn the job like that, or just get the job. You're going to have to earn the job. And listen, for people to kick the tires on J.J. McCarthy already is absolutely ridiculous. I understand that this is going to light a fire under J.J. McCarthy's feet that you're bringing in quarterback competition. There is nothing wrong with quarterback competition in the NFL. You don't just get to have your job, but to kick the tires on J.J. McCarthy right now for being the 10th overall pick, if I'm not mistaken, 2 seasons ago is blasphemy. It blows my mind. But hey, listen, let's see what Kyler Murray's made of. He's going to get another shot. Maybe he does win the starting job, but I don't think it's going to come easy. I think there should be a quarterback competition. And to be honest with you, Kyler Murray's undersized. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. Yeah, the Cardinals are a dumpster fire and the Vikings are a better organization. And there's maybe more to work with in Minnesota, but no Aaron Jones. You got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison. So we'll see. We'll see what the Vikings come up with, if it's Kyler Murray, if it's J.J. McCarthy. But I don't think Kyler Murray is going to be putting him in the position that they think they're going to get themselves into. And good for Kyler Murray. You sign a 1-year veteran minimum deal. You put yourself in play where, hey, maybe I win the starting job and I do well, and another team sees me out there and goes, maybe he's not as bad as he was put out to be. But if you're asking me, I think it's a solid pickup, but I don't think that puts them in contention to win the division. I don't think Kyler Murray puts them in playoff contention, let's just say, because the NFC North is going to be an absolute juggernaut again, just like it was last year. So we talked about that, but the next thing I wanted to talk about on the show was when I first originally saw this last week, when Justin Fields was going to be signed by the Kansas City Chiefs, I thought to myself, oh, okay, it's an insurance policy right now because Mahomes is going to be out for the first couple weeks. But then I opened up my brain and I said, you know what? Maybe Andy Reid is out here playing chess and not checkers. Maybe that he thought to himself, if I pick up Justin Fields, maybe we can use him in some sort of packages differently, like a Taysom Hill type of role. And he's not a traditional type quarterback like he was, because Justin Fields is not a starter in the NFL. And I think when Patrick Mahomes comes back, I think that the Chiefs should use him in some Taysom Hill packages. Maybe split him out wide, put him at running back, maybe get some defenses off their heels. And now you're getting Eric Bieniemy back. Like, you got nothing to lose. You took a flyer on the guy. They're pretty sure they signed him They traded him for a sixth and a seventh. So he's there. The Jets are eating $7 million of his $10 million guaranteed because he signed the 2-year, $40 million contract last free agency. Obviously, it didn't work out with the Jets. We're not going to sit here and talk a lot about that, but I think it would be great if the Chiefs were to use him in certain packages, and maybe when Mahomes comes back, you convert him to a running back / wide receiver. You put him in some packages. I don't think it would be a bad thing. And Justin Fields said he wanted to play for the Chiefs, and I think he's a backup quarterback more than anything. But have some fun with it. Put him in different packages. Maybe get some, like I said, defense off their heels. Bieniemy has some fun. You wait till Mahomes comes back. And I know Justin Fields was 3-1 with the Steelers a couple seasons ago before Russell Wilson took the reins over, when he was 3-1 as a starter, and people thought he was a starter. Obviously, clearly that wasn't the case. And maybe the Justin Fields lovers out there think that he can still start in the NFL, and maybe he proves himself with a better situation in Kansas City. It's a better run organization. They're not a dumpster fire, and there's some offensive pieces there. Or maybe they just say, hey, you're the backup until Mahomes comes back. We're going to hand the ball off to Kenneth Walker, and the rest goes on from there. But next thing we'll briefly talk about is Darius Slay retiring he retired from the NFL. Last team, of course, was the Eagles. He was traded, never played for the Bills. Hats off to him on a great career. Won a Super Bowl, was great for the Lions all those years. So really, that's kind of much I'll say, is he's a first-team All-Pro. Like I said, he won the Super Bowl. Not really much to talk about there, but it's just some news that came in yesterday. We briefly talked about Dallas Goedert signing with the Philadelphia Eagles. And here you go. Last part of the show for the Eagles part, and then we'll move on to the Patriots, and then we'll wrap up. The financial hard no. The $43 million wall for the people out there that are like wanting to know about the A.J. Brown trade. The dead money. Before June 1st, the Eagles would hit $43.4 million in dead cap. That is why the Eagles are not trading A.J. Brown. The Eagles are going to trade A.J. Brown, but it's going to come after June 1st. I am strongly confident he will end up on the New England Patriots. That's how I'm feeling about it. And people are asking me, well, what are the Patriots going to give up? Well, you just saw Jalen Waddle, the return or the haul he just got, right? So it's probably somewhere in there. But listen, I get why the Eagles are being stingy. You're not just going to part ways with your best offensive player, offensive threat, receiving wise. Obviously, I know Saquon Barkley is there. Hold your horses. All I'm saying is that they're not just going to part ways with him for a lousy, measly third and a fourth or a second and a third. They want a first round pick. And if Jalen Waddle's getting a first round pick and he is basically the same age as A.J. Brown, that's what's going to happen. He's a Super Bowl champion. He's a very productive receiver, top 10 receiver when he's on his game. So I don't blame the Eagles for not wanting to trade A.J. Brown right now. It makes absolutely zero sense for him to be traded right now. They're playing hardball. I get it. They're trying to be financially smart. They're trying to save money. They're not trying to go out to the bars on Fridays and Saturdays. They're trying to save money. They're trying to be smart. So right now it is off the table. That's kind of what I'll say there. But the last thing of the show I want to talk about was a little small Patriot segment. Of course, we've seen the Patriots free agent signings, but last week we parted ways with Jalen Hawkins and we replaced him with Kevin Byard. And people were asking me, Joey, how do you feel about Kevin Byard being being signed by the New England Patriots? Well, it's a 1-year deal, and Mike Vrabel wanted his guy. Kevin Byard's an all-pro type of guy. He led the NFL. I'm pretty sure he led the NFL in interceptions last season. He had a great year with Chicago. And Kevin Byard said the only two teams I wanted to play for were the Chicago Bears and the New England Patriots. All pro type of guy. really good safety. Yes, he's getting at the end of his career. He's older, but he's still got stuff left in the tank. If you saw what he did in Chicago last year, and Vrabel got his guy, and I like the signing more than anything. I thought we were going to bring back Jalen Hawkins. I was like, oh, I'm confident we're going to bring him back, maybe on a cheaper deal. But the Patriots wanted to go in a different direction. I'm never going to question Mike Vrabel's decisions. And I like Kevin Byard. I loved him in Tennessee. I liked him when he was in Chicago. And now he finds his home officially on the New England Patriots. He had 7 interceptions, 93 tackles, and eight pass deflections. He's led the NFL in picks in 2017 and 2025. He's a ball hawk type of guy. This is a good pickup by the Patriots. The defense already looks great as it is. You add another guy, and he's a veteran presence too, so he can help out a guy like Craig Woodson and kind of show him the ropes a little bit as well. I like the pickup more than anything. In 10 professional seasons, he's never missed a game. He's had 164 consecutive regular season appearances. Availability is the best ability, and that's exactly what Kevin Byard has been. So Jalen Hawkins was available all last year too. No discredit to him. Good luck to him for the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, they have a crowded safety room with Kyle Hamilton and Malachi Starks, but he's a good pickup there. I like the Kevin Byard signing. So that is Jalen Hawkins' replacement. But the last thing I wanted to talk about on the show is, you're talking about Stefon Diggs? Yeah, we're talking about Stefon Diggs. Elliot Wolf, he said, we're always looking for ways to improve the team. I wouldn't say the door's closed. I think if the Patriots can't get A.J. Brown, they are going to be bringing back Stefon Diggs. And I'll tell you why they're going to bring back Stefon Diggs. Yes, you signed Romeo Doubs. You got Kyle Williams on the roster, Chisholm, and you have Pop Douglas as well as Kayshon Boutte. But Stefon Diggs is a locker room guy. He wanted to be there. I don't think the Patriots really wanted to cut him, but it was a business decision more than anything. And of course, his legal stuff off the field is a major issue. But if those things get cleared up, and maybe he does get suspended for the first 4 games, or probably 6, because the NFL has moved suspensions even higher than they have in the past. You saw Rashee Rice was suspended for 6 games prior. Rashee Rice was suspended for 6 games before, or maybe it's 4 games. However, though, Stefon Diggs wouldn't be a massive cap hit. He's a free agent. I don't think Stefon Diggs wants to play anywhere else. I know he was potentially linked to the Chargers, maybe a reunion with the Bills, but I don't see that. I think he wants to play for the Patriots, and I think that they've definitely had conversations with him. And like Elliot Wolf said, we're always looking for ways to improve the team. I'm not going to rule it out. I don't think you can rule it out. He was your most productive receiver last year. If you can clean up the things that he's got involved with off the field, and let's say he does serve his punishment, and his market isn't very big, I don't think many teams want him. He wants to play for the Patriots. Like I said, he was a veteran last year on the team. He elevated Drake May a big time, a big amount last year more than anything. 1,000 yards. He got his 1,000 yards last year. He was coming off the ACL injury, but if you can't get AJ Brown, and as a backup plan, you should go get Stefon Diggs. But listen, we have to wait until all the legal stuff plays out. But I don't think it would be crazy if the Patriots were to bring him back. I really don't. I think it would make total sense. He was there last year, went to a Super Bowl, and he'll be fully healthy this year. Obviously, he played last year coming off the ACL injury, but I think it would make perfect sense for the Patriots to bring back Stefon Diggs. Guys, on that note, that does it for us. We hit around the 30-minute mark for today's episode. I tried to cover as much as I could. Listen, guys, I can't sit here and break down every single March Madness game that there is, from round of 64 to round of 32 to Sweet 16 to Elite 8 to Final Four. As the tournament goes on, we'll be able to talk a lot more about each game. But I hope everyone had a great St. Patrick's Day yesterday. I didn't do anything. I'm getting ready for a wedding this weekend. I'm going to South Carolina and Kiowa Island, but before that, I'm going to Savannah, Georgia with some friends, going to check out that tomorrow, taking a little road trip. And as always, guys, make sure to follow us on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. I can't thank you guys enough for the support. I really can't. This is the best time of year with March Madness starting. You have the NHL playoffs coming up around the corner, NBA playoffs, free agencies wrapping up, NFL draft is coming up as well. So make sure to follow us on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. As always, guys, it is Mamba mentality.